Ladies and gentlemen, just imagine, if you will, the great Napoleon Bonaparte, that diminutive Corsican military genius, standing in the car park of a Tesco, squinting at the relentless drizzle of a wet Tuesday afternoon in Slough. A man who once held the fate of Europe in his grasp, now faced with the mundane task of acquiring this week's groceries. Of course, Napoleon, being the strategic mastermind that he was, would approach this task with the same ruthless efficiency that he applied to his military campaigns. He wouldn't just march down the aisles with a trolley like some common pleb. No. He'd devise a meticulously thought-out plan, employing the full might of his tactical acumen. First, he'd dispatch his cavalry, that is, his wife Josephine and his top generals, to the far reaches of the store, securing the strategic locations: the bakery, the frozen food section, and of course the all-important wine aisle. This would be his way of creating a diversion, a feint to throw the enemy off guard. And by enemy, I mean the other shoppers listlessly pushing their trolleys, half asleep. Now, with Josephine holding down the fort in the bread section, Napoleon would proceed to the heart of the store, deftly navigating the trolley through the labyrinth of aisles like a seasoned charioteer. He'd conquer each section with the same relentless precision he employed on the battlefield, employing the flanking manoeuvre on a group of pensioners dawdling in front of the tinned goods. And of course, Napoleon would have to deal with the eternal Waterloo that is the supermarket checkout. You could just picture him, can't you? Standing there with his hand inside his coat, surveying the lay of the land with a steely glaze, calculating the odds of each cue like a master tactician. He'd assess the competence of the cashiers, the number of items in each shopper's basket, and the likelihood of someone trying to pay with a cheque. Yes, a cheque in this day and age. Finally, having chosen the most promising cue, Napoleon would attempt a risky gambit, the divide and conquer strategy. He'd split his forces, his groceries, into smaller, more manageable units, sending Josephine and the generals to open up new fronts at other checkouts. It's a high-stakes move. If there's one thing we know about Napoleon, it's that he wasn't afraid to take risks. And so, with the last tin of soup scanned and the final baguette bagged, Napoleon would emerge from the supermarket victorious, his trolley laden with the spoils of war. He'd have conquered the aisles of Tesco with the same military genius that he'd once brought Europe to its knees. And he marched out into the rain-soaked car park, his coat billowing dramatically in the wind. You can just imagine him thinking, "Now where did I park my horse?" But Napoleon, being Napoleon, wasn't one to rest on his laurels. He was already planning his next campaign, his next foray into the supermarket battlefield. He'd spotted a few inefficiencies, a few areas where his strategy could be refined. The canned goods section, for instance, was a bottleneck, a choke point that could potentially stall his advance, and the self-checkout machines, they were a wild card, an unpredictable element that could either speed up his campaign or grind it to a halt. And then there was the matter of the loyalty card. He'd been offered one by the cashier, a chance to earn points and save money on future purchases. It was an intriguing proposition, a potential ally in his ongoing supermarket campaigns. But it also meant surrendering his personal information, a strategic concession that Napoleon wasn't sure he was willing to make. These, however, were the concerns for another day. For now, Napoleon had his victory, his shopping done in record time. He'd faced the supermarket, that modern-day battlefield, and he had conquered it with the same strategic brilliance that had once made him the master of Europe. He had loaded his groceries into his car. He couldn't help but smile. For Napoleon Bonaparte, the supermarket wasn't just a place to buy food. It was a challenge, a test of his strategic acumen, a chance to prove that he was still the master of his domain. And you know what? he even remembered to return his shopping trolley. Now that's what I call a mastermind. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.